Welcome back to the Shine Within podcast. I'm so excited because we've been waiting for so long, right, Leah? We've been waiting so long for
Yes.
this podcast,
hmm
and now we're here together. But I just want to talk about Leah today. Leah Davis is a wealth and wellness coach, financial educator, and the founder of Leah Davis Coaching. She empowers Black, Indigenous, Latina, and all women of color to heal their relationship with money, cultivate self sovereignty, and create lasting financial transformation. With certifications in financial coaching and domestic violence advocacy, Leah brings a healing centered, holistic approach that blends financial literacy with mindset, mindfulness, and, of course, my favorite word, empowerment. Woohoo! Oh, Leah, thank you so much for being on my show. And just to give a little bit back history, audience, her and I actually go back, and we didn't really know it until we got on a call together. We used to party in the early 2000s and around the same clubs, the same type of music, which I still love to this day. House music is my favorite, and the same crowd. And so when we got together and met, we're like, I'm like, I know you. I've seen your photos. You're this gorgeous girl, very tall, always had a beautiful figure, and you were killing it on the dance floor. Anyway, thank you so much for being on my show today. I'm just so honored to have you on.
Thank you for that intro. Yes, it has been a long time coming. Super excited to be here because it is so rare for me to come across a woman in the professional space. You're an entrepreneur, and yet somehow we have similar ties in a community and in this like vibe that we shared. And then to meet and be like, wow, this is so cool. I love it.
Yes, and we're both sober.
Yes.
We're both alcohol free.
Yes,
So
it's
much
beautiful.
freedom with that, right?
So much,
Oh,
so much. I'm in gratitude every single day. Every single day. I'm so grateful to be sober.
me too, girl, me too. But when you actually look back on that chapter of your life with, the party and the going out and then the drinks, what actually comes up for you?
Ooh, I was two things. It was FOMO and a need for escaping combined for me. So, growing up, I was raised in a very strict religious household as a Jehovah Witness. I grew up in a household where I was controlled, abused, dominated, as well as the culture of the religion. So, and then I became a young single mom. And then early 20s, found myself single again and I started partying, right? And then that partying became my way of that fear of missing out. I found an ability to like be a part of something because I was always excluded. And so I was just it was like, it was just bliss for me, right? Like, oh my gosh, I have all these people that they love seeing me. I can go and see people all the time and it just that is what happened for me, right? But then it was also was a form of escape, and it truly did become a form of escape for me, which is not healthy. And then all of that connection and everything that I really yearned for, it wasn't real. But that's what comes up for me: the FOMO and the escape, the combination of the two.
Yes, I remember same experience, by the way. I grew up, my mom was very conservative, was very strict. All my siblings, they're about, let's see, 11, 10, and also 7 years older than me. So I was a
Mhm.
baby. So they were doing their own thing already. And my mom was working two jobs. And, sometimes my siblings had to babysit. Well, this gave me freedom to do whatever I want on the phones and eventually like on the chat rooms later on in the late 90s. But I had so much pain inside and I wanted to escape. And I remember my first party. I think I was in high school. It was my senior year. And I never felt loved before. Growing up, sexually molested between the ages of 6 to 12. I bottled all that inside, didn't tell anybody.
Mm.
So I never really felt love. I got into the wrong relationships early on in high school, but then I met somebody who then took me to my first rave, and it was over in Oakland.
Mhm.
I remember this party. It was called Pangea. I don't
Hmm.
know.
Nope, don't know that one. Where was it held though?
Second in Jackson or something in
Okay.
Oakland. And so I had my first substance then, and
Mm.
I felt like a sense of love. It was ecstasy at the
Mm.
time, and I
Mhm.
felt like I belonged. And so it was my escapism, and it was a
Mhm.
place where I felt like I can connect with people. And then,
Mhm.
of course, then once I turned 21, 22, then I started going to these clubs. And then I'm like, this is where I need to be because I felt like I vibed with everybody
Mhm.
there. I just enjoyed so much. But then all of my drinking became was social, then habitual, then turned into dependency for me. And I wanted to
Mm.
ask you if you can just go ahead and walk us through that turning point for yourself. What was the moment, or even like the series of moments that made you realize, like, hey, I don't want to drink anymore. What sparked you into the sobriety journey?
Thank you for sharing that. It's just interesting to hear the similarities here and how I'm just so curious and how many of the listeners can relate to this as well, right? Because I know we're not the only ones, especially in that scene. Um, it's interesting. It didn't occur to me until my 30s when I really started thinking about I need to look into this. Prior to that, it was just such a normal thing for, me to tell my friends, like, I don't remember anything that happened last night. I mean, and it wasn't anything at that time in my 20s. I wasn't sloppy. I would be, like you said, I would be on the dance floor. But I could be completely blacked out and I would be like cool as a cucumber and nobody knew. So it wasn't until my 30s, probably because my body was just like rejecting this alcohol and these substances. And plus, all the things that were happening in my life. I was going through a really difficult custody battle with my child's father, and everything came to a head at that point. So I started getting sloppy, and I started. And in my 30s, and I had so much more to lose. And, I remember, so let's see. I was in this relationship for about 7.5 years with my child's father, very abusive, harmful individual, and he's works in law enforcement. And then here I am, right? And so we're in this legal battle, and I was still drinking and partying because that was my form of escape. So when I was with him, I wasn't really doing it too much. I was drinking, but I wasn't partying like that. Relationship ended. I went right back into what I knew before I met him because that's what I knew as far as like coping and feeling a part of something and being seen and heard. So anyway, I remember being in like downtown San Jose. I had long hair like this, and then I had shaved it off, like pretty much shaved it off. I went to this faux hawk and I dyed it like lavender. It was just, you said you remember being tall, right? Imagine me now in legal battles downtown San Jose, where the courthouse is, and then I'm running around. So I started realizing, like, oh my gosh, people are going to remember me even more. Like I stand out. People always remember me. And I knew that I had to stop and I shared this with my daughter recently because it's really important for me for my kids to know the dangers of substance abuse and my experience. And I'm pretty open with them, not a lot, but enough, right? And with my 15-year-old, one time I told her, I said, this is not even that long ago. I was having a heart to heart with her. And I said that she was the reason what really motivated me to stop because I knew if I didn't, I could potentially lose her and she would then be living in the home in an abusive home. And I would have no ability to be there for her, to be that safe space to protect her. So I, for myself, from growing up in a home where there's domestic violence, and I always said I wanted to protect my kids from it. But then because I hadn't done all the healing work, I found myself in several relationships, and in that one in particular, where my children were exposed to violence. And so that really, really, really moved me and got me to where I'm at today. And so, and also was also part of the court proceedings. I mean, it was like, she's got to stop drinking. So I was already in therapy for it. And the best piece of advice my lawyer told me at that time was embrace the order, every single thing on it. And I did exactly what he said. I followed everything to a T and everything worked out, but that's what got me to where I'm at today.
That's so beautiful. Yes. An attorney that I had hired because my ex-husband at the time, this is my oldest's father, yeah, he had enough of my abuse because I was actually the abuser.
Mm,
And to be real, like I had so much pain inside that I projected everything onto him, not my
mm,
child, not my friends. It was all him.
yeah.
And he had enough. And he's like, that's it. I'm not bringing, our son back home. We're going to be away. And that's when I got really sad and tried to commit suicide. And then luckily, a friend of mine, I think you know this friend of mine, Roger Morehouse,
Yeah.
and I was texting him and he took that seriously. And then he contacted my parents, who then contacted, the called 911. And then I remember at the hospital there, fuzzy headed, just like, and then my doctor was there next to me apparently. And then he was like, "We're so glad you're alive." But
Wow.
that moment, you would think that I would stop drinking,
Yeah.
but I was just in a dark, dark place, but I didn't stop.
Mhm.
So what ended up happening is that I was trying to get my son back. But then the attorney there, she says, "You're an alcoholic," like that. And this is before I even admit it. And I'm like, how does she know? Does she smell it? Apparently, her parents were alcoholics. So she's used to, she can see the signs, she can see the behaviors, she can see. And she says, you need to, in order for you to get your child back, you need to get sober. So I had to go to rehab. I did a 30-day rehab. But even though I relapsed after rehab, I was going to those AA meetings, trying to
Yeah.
do the 12 step, trying to get signatures to show to the court that, hey, I can do this. Yeah, it lasted for so long, but man, it was in my 30s too that I finally woke up and said, okay, enough is enough. And that's when I had to surrender and finally get to where I'm at now. But now that you're on the other side of alcohol, how has your life transformed either like emotionally, spiritually, and even financially?
Oh, wow. It's like night and day. You know, I didn't know, I did never was able to, I didn't know anything other than anger and sadness and fear. Those are the three things that I knew. That was it. And I couldn't even handle those, which is why the drinking was an escape for me. And so when I stopped drinking, I would love to say that everything was like amazing right out the gate. No, it's not. I mean, I went to AA as well. I was there for 2 years. And the program worked for me until just I needed to expand beyond that. But my point is that I would hear in AA like nobody shows up here with their life amazing. I mean, everyone who shows up there is a wreck, and so there's some comfort in that. But point being is that it took me some time to be able to handle the emotions that I was feeling, especially because I was still dealing with abuse with my child's father through the court system. I stopped drinking and he was coming after me, coming after me, coming after me, right? So what I did was I really just focused on, I walked away from people that I used to hang out with. I stopped being on social media. I started pouring into myself as much healing things as possible, even more than what I was doing with my partying. So it was like constant. Like I stopped listening to the news. I stopped listening to the radio. I even stopped listening to house music. You mentioned that's one of your favorites, mine too. I couldn't because I it was just bringing up too much for me. So, I went through that and I'm so glad that I did because now I know what I did was I reduced being in a harmful environment, and I also reduced harmful things that I was ingesting and doing that was causing me harm. And I was implementing healing modalities, prayer, meditation, community, journaling, exercise. I mean, you name it, I was doing all of it. So that is a core foundation of my life today. So my day does not start without prayer. It does not start without meditation. I journal every day. I'm on a prayer call at 8. I mean, I do so much, and then I'll take my first appointment at 10. But I
Morning
do.
routines, yeah.
Yes. I mean, it is like, and then even before I go to sleep, I make sure when my head lays on the pillow that my last thoughts are something that I'm grateful for, or I'm envisioning my next day or what I'm working towards. So my life, my way of being, my thinking, how I respond to stress is just like night and day. I mean, don't get me wrong, things still happen. I still get activated. Just happened yesterday, um, because I'm still dealing with some child support stuff. And it took me way back. But the thing was, is that it was just amazing. I went on a walk. I have this app that I listen to. I don't know if you've heard of it, Soak, Soaak.
No, I
It's like,
haven't.
it's sound frequency. It's clinically proven. It's amazing. And so I went on this walk. I put on a sound frequency for anti-anxiety. And then I just started naming what I was experiencing. And I was like anger, insignificance, invisible, right? So I just named it. And because I named it, I didn't try to run from it. I didn't try to do a spiritual bypass. I named it and I acknowledged like these emotions are not going to last. They're going to move through me. And it's amazing that I'm able to do that now. And so it lifted from me, right? And so then I got back to feeling more at ease and yeah, still irritated, but it lessened it. So I'm not feeling like I'm not safe. So that is the most powerful thing of how my life is now. In those moments where because it happens even when I'm dealing with my finances, which is like the work that I do with women, which is not feeling safe around money and how activated and triggered that can be, especially those of us that have experienced harm and violence, um, is the fact that I can now acknowledge and be able to feel safe, even when there's craziness going on around me, even in these times right now in the world, right? With how the US is and everything. I get activated, but yet at the same time, I know that I'm safe and I continue to walk in that way. So my life is a true blessing. I have my business, I'm serving women, I'm doing what I love, I live with purpose, and I'm aging gracefully. That's amazing.
Yes, you are Miss Beauty over here.
Thank
And you
you.
got some muscles, man. I want your muscles.
I do. That's 11 years of work, though, let me tell you. But yeah.
Yeah, you look amazing. And I
Thank
agree
you.
with you. You know, those morning routines are so crucial. We were just talking about gratitude earlier, and that was one of the practices that I have, and I still do to this day, is wake up and thank you for my first breath. You know, when I pay attention to how I'm breathing in the morning time too, like, is it like, did I have a bad dream? Am I kind of hyperventilating? Because sometimes that happens, but then just kind of focus on your breath. And then I love to say what I'm grateful for at least a minute. Everything like do, family, friends, this, business, women, my guests on my pod from my podcast, everything that I'm grateful for. And then I like to do a gentle movement. Now,
Mm.
sometimes if I have a lot of energy, then I'll go ahead and do a turbo jam or some type of dance. But then if I'm like, you know what? Today you're just going to stretch. I'm okay with that too. So they're so crucial, morning routines and taking care of yourself. I remember whenever I would get triggered with just problems, people, stress, just earth, life, I would
Mhm.
go straight to the bottle as my solution. But that did not help. And I love that you're taking walks. I'm a huge fan of frequency sound. I need to check out that app. I would just go on YouTube and say, okay, frequency sound for anxiety, and then just listen to that. And then walks in nature. And I love how you're not saying I am saying invisible, I am, you're calling it out like there's invisible, there's stress, there's disappointment, there's anger, instead of saying I am, because the words are so powerful. So I love these little tips that you're giving. This is so good, so
Yes.
good. But I wanted to ask you, what inspired you to start coaching women?
Well, because I'm my best client.
Yes, yes.
Because everything that I experienced, I was like, oh my gosh, there's nobody out there to help me. So, if I started my career in 2011 as a financial advisor, and because I didn't grow up learning about money, no one talked to me about like at all. I just remember getting a little coffee cup to put some change in, but there were no conversations about it, right? So that's my relationship with money. I didn't know. And because I was in that religion growing up, they didn't give us any goals. Having money was looked down upon. It's so horrible. So once I did mention I was a young single mom, and then I was working at this company, I started being exposed to people that had money, and I was like, what is this? How do they do it? Wow, how did they get there? And so later on, I discovered I could become a financial advisor, and I was like, all right, I don't have and that's one thing. Like I'm not a college graduate. I didn't go to college. I'm a high school graduate, barely made it. I was 38 credits behind, but somehow I made it. And so I'm always looking for a career, and I thought I just got to get licensed. I just got to study. I'll do that. So I did. And I'm so glad that I put myself through that. It was difficult, but I got licensed. But once I started the career, I realized once I was out networking and meeting women I'm from San Jose, we're a melting pot of culture and women and entrepreneurs. I'm thinking nobody is talking to them. Like all the companies that I saw, the marketing materials, everything had nothing to do with women or women of color. And so I started looking into it, found like one research study based by the American College of Financial Services, reached out to them. I was like, this is like the holy grail. I love it. Thank you. And then over time, I stopped being a financial advisor. And then I met my mentor just through networking, who said I'd make a great financial coach. So I didn't know what financial coaching was. And then she had someone going through her program who needed to get their hours. And I thought, sure, I'll check it out. And so once I had a coach, and I had this dream of starting a business for women of color, I didn't know what. I was also still early on in my recovery days. So I'm figuring all this stuff out. And, I realized I had so much fear. I couldn't even look at my credit report. And here I am. I was a licensed financial advisor talking about how important credit is. And I was petrified of looking at my credit report because I had so much shame. And that shame was familiar to me because those of us who have been addicted to substances, at the core root of it, there's shame, right? So I realized this and I started working through it with my coach, and it was just the light bulbs went off. Like, this is what I'm meant to do. This is what we need. And so that's when in 2019, I founded my coaching business, Leah Davis Coaching, and I've been off and running since. And I'm so glad that I didn't have the fog. The fog had been lifted from me, right? Because of the drinking and partying and all that had been gone. Um, and so it opened up a more expansive way of looking at things and an awareness, and then just being able to know, okay, I have a purpose in this world and being open to what was coming forward. And then just, like I said, everything I've been through, what I see was missing with other women, what I wish I had is what got me to start my business and become a wealth and wellness coach for women of color.
Amazing. Oh, now if normally I always say this at the end, but since we're in the middle of the podcast here, I would go ahead and drop your information so our listeners can go ahead and connect with you in case they are like, hey, she's amazing. I want her to coach me.
Yeah, yeah. So you can find me on Instagram. My handle is Leah Coaching, Leah Coaching, website, leahcoaching.com. And the best place where I'm always at is on LinkedIn. So you can find me under Leah Davis and then my credentials, FFC. So that's Frank Cat.
Love it, love it. Now, we both know that money and mindset go hand in hand, right? In your opinion, what are some of the biggest financial wounds or even patterns that you see among women?
Oh, especially those of us who are the first gen is what I want to talk about. When I say first gen, it's those of us the first one of family to go to college, first to start a business, first to be the cycle breaker in the family of generational poverty and trauma, the first, right? So we typically are the ones who are purpose driven, we're impact, we're change makers, we're here to make a difference in the world. And one of the biggest things that I see with the women that I serve, which myself included, is the level of financial anxiety. So I've coached over 155 women, and the data shows that 97% of the women I've coached have experienced financial anxiety. And so when that shows up for us, some of the things that can be, emotional, impulsive spending, not knowing where to start. So, and then just not starting at all. Wanting to be able to have a plan with your money, right? Where do I go for that? Avoidance of looking at bank accounts and documents. So those, and then just like I said, the emotional spending. So those are some of the key things that I've noticed over time that comes up for women when they're just trying to navigate their finances. And there's so many of us out there, and this is across all income levels. This isn't, I mean, I've worked for a few years at a nonprofit in Oakland serving women, low income women who are on, subsidized housing and on CalWorks and CalFresh. And their experience in relationship with money is this very similar, the same to women that I've coached who are executives and her directors and working in tech, right? The difference is the income level, but the issues are still the same. And you mentioned mindset. Mindset is influenced by our emotional responses and our belief system. And so that's why I always start with the internal, the experience, the anxiety, the financial traumas. And because there are things that have happened to us that we have no control over with these systems, right? That happen. The predatory lenders, all the cash, I can't think right now, but you know what I mean? When you have cash, get your check quick, whatever on the corner, blame perimenopause. I had a total blank right now. Um,
Happens
I'm
to me
like,
all the time.
what was that? So anyway, so like there's all these things that are in the world that are set up to harm us,
Right.
and they're out of our control. And yet the biggest thing is that women, the ones that I talk about that I serve, often take it on like something's wrong with me. I'm the reason I'm failing. It's like, look, there's systems in place to make you fail. And if you didn't know, you didn't know. If you weren't taught, you weren't taught. So there's no, it's doesn't make sense to blame ourselves, and because what ends up happening is we hold ourselves back even more, and it's working, right, to keep us down. So hope I answered your question there.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Now can you actually just go ahead and share a success story from one of your clients and how they've just improved in their life just by working with you?
Absolutely. So I had a client who a Latina working in tech, and she had recently got this promotion, making the most money she's ever made, close to 200,000 a year, right? And she came to me because she saw me do a workshop. And when our consultation came up, and then she decided to work with me, what had come up for her was that she wasn't taught about money. She was the one in her family who's making all this money, and she kept spending a lot. And she wanted to stop spending. It was causing problems with her partner. Her wife was just so mad at her. She was always on Amazon. And also interestingly, she had also sober, right? So that was one of the things, in her life, she'd given up alcohol. But here she was like, and she had so much shame around not understanding money. She's like, I don't know anything. She's like, no one taught me anything. I'm making all this money. I don't know where to put it. And she just felt so, mm, like she's just not good enough to even speak up or to ask people at work or HR. I mean, just so much, right? So her goal was that she expressed to me that her dream and what she wanted was to save money to buy another home and also be able to take care of her mom. And she had shared with me in one of her sessions that she wanted to be able to be in a meeting at work and to speak her mind about something and not be worried about the consequences. If she was fired and she'd be okay. But she would hold back in doing that because she's a woman, she's a Latina, and she wasn't set up financially. But that's what she said, that's what she wanted. So anyway, we coached. She was coaching with me. And over the course of a couple of months, she was saved money. I mean, she racked up, like, I think it was like in the first 2 months, about 7,000, another 20,000 she saved. By the time the coaching was done within the few months, right? She got her systems in place. She stopped spending. She came up with a way to no longer spend money after work because that's what she would do. She replaced it with the healthy habit of going out bike riding. This improved her relationship with her partner. Her partner was just like feeling so much better that, because she handled the finances and her partner was always stressed out. And then what's so crazy and wild is we ended her session, right? And she had a strong financial foundation. And I followed up with her a couple months later, found out that her mom had gotten sick like a few days after coaching had ended, and she had to take her mom to the hospital, and she was able to move her mom home. They were buying another home that'd be bigger for her to help care for her mom. And she was just so grateful that she had taken the initiative to go through coaching because her ability to take care of her mom, had she not started the coaching with me, she wouldn't have had things set up so she'd be able to care for her mom. And it just happened shortly after our coaching sessions ended.
What a beautiful story, and how she's able to take care of her mother.
Yeah.
Oh, that touches my heart. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for sharing that because that is very encouraging.
Yeah.
I love stories like that. So I always ask, like, tell me a story. Tell me a
I have
story.
lots of one. That's the one that came to mind. Yeah.
That was beautiful. Now you blend mindfulness and, of course, spirituality and financial coaching all together. So how do you actually integrate all of these elements in your work? And also, how has spirituality guided your own healing journey for you?
Oh, yeah. So for me, I'll start with myself first because if I'm not putting all this into myself and doing it, I'm not able to serve at the capacity that I'm able to, which is why I have that big morning routine. And I'm so focused on taking care of myself. So spirituality is my good friend. I mean, I have a relationship with a God of my understanding. It's not a person in the sky. It's not, telling me I'm a sinner and I'm going to go to heaven or hell. My God is love. My God is the beauty in life. My God is the energy. My God is abundant, limitless, right? So for me, spirituality shows up every day. You have no idea how many times a day I'll just look and be like, thank you. I mean, I'm sure even right now when we end this podcast, I'll be like, thank you. I'm just in such a state of gratitude. That is a way of me being spiritual. And prayers come to me, like instead of, I catch myself when my mind can start going crazy and down this like fear path. And then I just say a prayer, even if it's just a couple of words, and so spirituality shows up with me and just being so grounded in adversity. I mean, I had a really tough year last year with a family member who's experiencing some mental health challenges. And had I not had this spiritual foundation and this awareness of how to be and show up and to have this level of faith, it would have been really difficult for me, right? So spirituality is like my core. And how it shows up in my work is Well, first of all, I typically attract clients that are spiritual as well. And they may have their own God of their understanding, which is totally fine, right? And so, how that shows up is like, my clients know that I have that as part of the coaching that I provide. I meet my clients where they are and what works for them. So, also like a lot of the different grounding methodologies that I work with my clients, or the affirmations, or, getting in touch with their body, all of that is spiritual work, right? And it's all sacred work. And so that's how it shows up with my clients through coaching sessions. I may, if a client is activated, and it happens pretty much often, even sometimes I had a networking call, this young woman just started crying, and I was like, yes, I tend to have that. 'Cause I guess because I just create this space and I ask questions and I'm genuine and curious and truly do want to be there of love and support for someone. And so during the sessions, if that comes up, we may pause and do a grounding exercise depending on what is comfortable for my client. Sometimes breath work, it could be traumatizing for someone. Sometimes somebody has to like do more type of moving with their hands or something, or journaling or something, right? So that's how it shows up. Also, with my clients, it's a matter of just reminding them of who they really are, and that, that they're limitless, and just reiterating that. And also, the spirituality shows up in, like you mentioned, the words, how they're powerful. I am huge on that. I listen intently to how my clients are speaking, and I reflect that back, and we work together to change the language they're using so it's more uplifting, more loving, invigorating, and empowering. So that's how it shows up in the work with my clients. So a lot of times they may not even realize that I'm doing some spiritual type practices with them, because it's just such a way of my being.
I love that. Yeah, spirituality is everything to me. And I agree with you. The God of my understanding is love, not saying you're a sinner, you're heaven, hell. Look, God is around me all the time, okay? I feel its presence everywhere. Whether it's people can say source, universe, whatever your God of your understanding, but it's just an immense love that you feel inside. And I see it everywhere in nature. It's like all around me. Like I get goosebumps. That's like truth bumps. It's like you can
Yeah,
feel everything.
yeah,
Oh, thanks for
yeah.
sharing that too. I love that. Now, we're talking about mindset again, and I'm all about the abundance mindset because I feel like I have an abundance. Even though I'm not rich making millions or anything, I have an abundance. Like I have an abundance. I am so grateful for everything that I do have. But it does take inner work to have that mindset of having that abundance. Now, for our women listeners here, what is one simple shift that a woman can go ahead and make today to start feeling even like more empowered with her money and her own worth?
Oh, yes. I think that is to remember that something is always working. So even in the darkest of times, something is available that is working. There's, even if it's the smallest, teeniest, tiniest thing. I mean, like I'll give an example. So early on in my recovery, at one point, I had no money. I mean, girl was broke, broker than broke and broke. I was on, food stamps. I mean, not they call it food stamps anymore, but it was CalFresh, right? And so much shame. And I remember I had a little bit of money to pay, a little bit of rent of the room I was for the room I was renting. And then I had like $25 to get me through the month. And I had to be able to take care of my kid too when I had her. And I was like, oh my gosh. But the fact that I had that $25, I remember being so grateful for that $25. So it worked for me. And when something is working, it's also coming to that place of acceptance of what is, accepting the situation and circumstance that you're in. It's not a matter of like giving up and, oh, I'm done. No, it's this is where I'm at right now. Like being real, right? Just this is where I'm at, and accepting it and noticing what is working for me, right? And then just asking a question of what is seeking to emerge from me right now. I took that from Michael Beckwith, love him, and it works. Asking that question, because every situation that we're in, whether it's amazing or terrifying, there's something that is coming up to be emerged from it. There's an opportunity for growth. So, what is seeking to emerge from me in this moment is such a powerful question to ask, because when you ask that, you will get that intuition. You will get that direction. You will get that guidance by asking that type of question. Maybe you won't come up with like an actual sentence or voice in your head. Maybe it'll be an experience or a knowing. Everybody is different, but just pay attention and notice what you're noticing in that moment.
Oh, yes. Yes, pay attention because it may not be, like you said, a whisper or a voice or something, and just may be an inner knowing or a
Mhm.
feeling. That's your intuition telling you, nudging you. And it's that gentle voice, right? That intuition's that gentle voice, not that shouty one. The shouty one, I have to tell it to just to calm down and just step off for a moment or two.
Mine is
Because
Bernice. It's
oh,
her
Bernice, you
name.
need help.
Bernice, get out of
That's
here.
hilarious. No, why Bernice?
I don't know. It was just like,
I love that.
and that's pretty recent actually, because like I'm gonna name that voice. And when it was like Bernice, I don't know. I don't even know anyone the name Bernice, but
I
that's
was
what
gonna
came up.
ask. Yeah, was it like a high school friend
No,
that used to be like,
no, no. I just Bernice. That's a good name, you know? And so I that's that loud
that's
voice that comes
hilarious.
up, the critical, negative voice. Bernice, sit down.
I should name mine too. My
Yeah.
goodness. Okay, I'm gonna think of a name. I love Bernice, though. That's great. Oh my goodness, I feel like I can talk to you forever. But
Yeah.
once again, can you please let our listeners know how they can connect with you, follow you on social media and just start working with you?
Yes, please reach out. Like I said, LinkedIn is the best place. I'm constantly on LinkedIn. I'm primarily there, so you can find me under Leah Davis. My credentials are FFC because there are a few Leah Davises there, but there's only one Leah Davis FFC. Also on my website, if somebody's interested, they can schedule a consultation with me. I have a Calendly link set up on my website at leahcoaching.com. It's 45 minutes of a consult. It's actually almost like a mini coaching session because I'm here to serve, and I really want someone to walk away with something. Even if it is a consultation, you'll have an amazing awareness or insight about something to do next for yourself or what is possible. So find me there or on Instagram at leahcoaching.com. I'm around. Would love to hear from you.
Beautiful. And I will have everything in the show notes for our listeners. But last question that I love to always ask to all of my guests, and this is especially because what you've been through, what you've stepped into, what does it mean to shine within to you?
That's such a powerful question. What it means to shine within is that for me, I am radiating at a level that is just magnetic. And so to shine within is to have that deep love for myself, for others, and trust in the universe that everything's going to be okay. So that's what it means for me to shine within because when I come from that place, like even right now as I'm talking about it, I'm like feeling it right now in my body and I'm like, "Oh man, I'm vibrating right now." So that's what it means to me.
Oh, and you're glowing. Yes. Keep vibrating that level, girl. It's contagious.
That's right.
All right. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being on my show today. And we have to hang out sometime. We're so close.
Yes,
We'll have to hang
I know.
out.
We will. I
Have
love
some
it. Thank
coffee or
you.
tea or take a nice walk in nature, something fun.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
Thank you.